2 of our sim rig build. If you haven't seen the first video, I build the frame for our sim racing rig. And in this video, I'm going to mount a seat, I'm going to put a single monitor mount on, and a keyboard mount. So that's all coming up. Let's get into it. So I purchased this seat at a local auto parts store. It comes with the rails and the adjustment. It will go nicely onto it'll fit into our slots on our 4080 extrusions. And we will bolt the seat directly to the mounts here and then reinstall them back on the rig. So you can see here the seat rails have these mounting holes. In this case, we're going to use M8 socket head cap screws. So we'll measure the center to center of the holes on our rails. It's 13.5. So all we do is we adjust our seat mount to match the center to center. So the slots on these will match the center to center of the holes on the seat. So the good thing about using extruded aluminum is it's so adjustable and you can mount anything to it. That's why I like working with it. So we're going to preload our M8 nuts, our T-nuts, into our seat mount rails. So there we have our seat mounted. That was nice and easy, and it's adjustable, so we can fine tune it once all your hardware is mounted, your steering, your pedals, and then you get your optimum position for your seat and your controls. So we will do that later. So now we're on to the single monitor mount. So now we're going to put on our single monitor mount, which will be upgradable to a triple. I'm using a unconventional monitor. I'm using a TV. It's actually a video wall TV. It's a really thin bezel, so when I make it into a triple, it's going to look really cool because of the thin bezel. There'll be virtually no lines where the monitors or TVs meet. So it's an unconventional mount. Usually A typical sim racing monitor would have a VESA pattern of 75 millimeters or 100 millimeters, very rarely, sometimes 200 millimeters. So that's the bolt pattern on the back of the monitor. But this is an unconventional monitor, so it's going to be different mount, but I think the results will be really cool in the end, so I want to try this. So I'm going to be mounting my extension, so I'm going to extend and have the monitor coming up here. So I'm just putting these, this is 40/80. I'm going to mark my position and mount these, and then we'll move on to the next step. These extrusions come really well wrapped. They all have plastic on them, so you won't scratch the extrusions, because they do scratch. So this video will actually be sponsored by Brightlink. They are supplying the monitor that I'm going to be using, the thin bezel 49-inch display, very high nit, over 500 nit. So it's going to be, the results will be really, really spectacular. So our corner brackets are preloaded. I'm just going to slide them down into position. And let me know in the comments what monitors you're using too, because that helps out other people that are trying to build these rigs. If you can make some recommendations in the comments, it'd be much appreciated. Okay, next we're going to build our verticals. I'm going to use 40/80 as well on the verticals, and then I'll show you how we're going to mount the monitor. It's like I say, it's not a traditional mount. It's different, but hey, if you want to use a regular TV, this would be perfect for using just a regular TV, not a conventional sim racing rig monitor. So we've run into a little snag. The vertical bars interfere with the TV hooks on the Brightlink display. They won't fit in place. They're almost bang on where my measurements are for this. So what I'm going to have to do is mount these on the outside of the tower, which will give me enough clearance for the Brightlink hooks to sit in place. So this is a great design. I like this design for traditional monitors, but it's not going to work for my situation. So I'll just finish this out because this is a great setup for your traditional monitors. If you have a VESA pattern of 75 millimeter, 100 millimeter, or even 200 millimeter, this will work great for that. So I'll finish this and then we'll do the mods to use the Brightlink 49-inch low thin bezel display. Well, that doesn't happen very often. That's bang on. So I cut a 46-inch horizontal bar that's going to sit up for my monitors. So that's our single mount. We'll just take our VESA plate, depending on what the VESA pattern is on the monitor, and it'll easily bolt to this extrusion. And then you have your single monitor set up. Like I say, my plates are being laser cut, and that'll allow me to adapt this to a triple, or to upgrade to a triple mount. So So now for the keyboard mount. So I'm going to be using these pivot joints, and the pivot joints go on the end of the extrusions, so I can pivot my keyboard in and out and put it into position however I want it. So they come assembled, but in order to get them mounted, you have to take them apart, and they just come apart easily with a flat socket head cap screw that you just remove. So we'll do that. I have it removed here, and then I preloaded it with our T-nuts and 2 of these little keys, these little keepers. They go into the slot to lock it in place so it's nice and strong. So I just slide this down the extrusion into position, make sure the little keys go into the groove, and then tighten it up. So that's one end of my pivot joint. So now my extrusion, I'm going to have to tap each end with an 8mm thread. So I'll tap that now. So I've tapped both ends of the extrusion, and I've mounted a side of the pivot joint on here. So now we just put it back together. So there we have our first part of the monitor. Oh, I'll tighten it up a little bit more. So there we have our first part on, and now we need to hook the tray on. So this is all I had. It's a rack mount. I'm not really sure. It's a tray for something, but it fits my keyboard, and it's a little heavy, but this is all I have to use now, so I will try this. And that's our keyboard tray.